Ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome to Meat People, this podcast to the Southwest Meat Association. I can't wait to have these conversations, and we're going to do everything we can to make it entertaining and valuable and a great representation of meeting the people.
8 a.m. start time, Mr. Cohn. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Meat People, the SMA podcast, all about its members, associates, also meat producers, people in the animal protein business. Today's man of the hour is Mr. David Cohn, Chappell Hill Sausage. David, thanks for agreeing to, be a subject of the podcast, because I think even stuff I don't know yet will come out, will be just great things for anybody listening to learn about your business, how you think about business, and what you think about the SMA.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. It's a big honor to be here and have me on the podcast. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, so it wasn't me. It was Lacey and Tori and Joe. And, I come do the interview because I love to talk to people, and it's just, you're super interesting. I guess in full disclosure, we've talked a time or two. We've been at the SMA. We've sat at the table. You've certainly talked to Cody, so we know each other a little more than none at all. I sold sausage for a while. You sell sausage. So,
right.
We're kind of duking it out occasionally in the same markets. And I spilled the beans already.
There you go.
Tell me about Chappell Hill.
Well, Chappell Hill Sausage got its start way back in 68. My parents started the company. Basically, my mother was raised right next door, and there was an old custom kill plant, little slaughter facility that the parents would come and buy their meat from. And so those people said, they're wanting to retire, so my dad and my mother bought it. And so they were in a custom kill business for a while. And then over the years, the sausage started taking over. My dad started running little sausage routes into the Cypress, Houston area and started getting a foothold in the market. And eventually, we started transitioning into a sausage company versus the slaughter. The slaughter stuff was just not working.
Yeah.
And the plant was, that we needed to do lots of work to the little kill floor that we had. And so back in, I don't know, I pretty much probably shut down the kill floor and transitioned that into a sausage kitchen and just really mainly do a strictly sausage company. But I went off to Sam Houston, got my degree, and my mother passed away a month before I graduated in 87. So I came back full time after I got my degree. And I don't know, 88 probably is when I said, I don't like let's not do the killed stuff.
Yeah.
Let's just.
Was it just not profitable? Was it just not a thing you had passion for?
I didn't have the passion for it.
Was it all kinds of different animals? Was it?
Yeah, it was pork, it was hogs, it was beef, it was a little bit, but we were only doing, if I remember correctly, I hope I don't we were only doing like 5 animals a week, so it wasn't paying the bills.
Sure. Well, now you kind of put some scale to it. Right? We're kind of stopping a lot of things to do these few custom kill kind of customers,
right,
or orders, and it's just not making. So real quick, I'm curious about your mom and dad. Were they entrepreneurial types? Like, what made them buy the business?
The short of it is they just wanted to get out of the big city. They were living in Houston.
Yeah.
And my dad was from a small town from around Anderson, Texas, Richards, Anderson area. And my mom grew up here in Chappell Hill. And they both, in those days, you went off to the city to try to make your fortune. And then they had 4 kids, and so we were living there, and then they decided one day, or over the course of time, we want to raise our kids in the country and not, even though Houston wasn't near as big as it is now, let's raise our kids in the country. And so that's basically what happened.
They found an opportunity.
And they had no experience whatsoever in food or meat business. And my mom, she is probably the unsung hero of it, because she would run the plant, and my dad was always trying to be a farmer or a rancher. He loved messing with his cows, or we had land. He would rent land and grow corn or whatever. Just do whatever it took to make $1. One day he would be selling sausage in Houston. The next day he'd be riding a tractor, cutting hay, baling hay, or harvesting corn, whatever the season it was. So that was always just whatever it took to get done.
It sounds like a great partnership to me. It sounds like a husband and wife who said, we want to do this. Oh, I don't know how, but that's our first step. We're going to buy this company, and I'll, it's just like it works itself out.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You hear a lot of stories like that, really, when you get into these businesses. A lot of business, maybe specifically meat business, kind of starts with somebody jumping off the cliff and building the parachute while they're falling, and then
so it worked. I'm not saying there wasn't tough times, but they were lots of long hours and hard work, 6-7 days a week, and then I've got 2 older sisters and a younger brother, but we all worked in it. We all, on Saturdays or Sundays, would do extra cleaning in the plant or whatever, and just whatever it took to get it done.
Now, are your siblings still involved?
Yes, I came back, and like I said, I was 87, and my brother came back in 89, and my older sister was probably, I want to say 88. I can't quite remember that, but then my other sister came back probably in the 90s, and we're all still working it.
Yeah. So they're in the building right now?
They're in the building right now.
Right, cool.
My older sister, she is, it's getting time for her. She's wanting to retire.
Yeah, sure.
And she's got a couple grandkids, or
other interests,
other interests,
things.
Those grandkids, they start, and so she's wanting to spend more time with them. And my other sisters, she doesn't no kids, and still lives here on the premises also, and then I've got my 3 kids, and then my brother's got 2 kids, but so we're seeing where it takes us. And so get back to the story, but we were running in the plant, the old plant, and eventually it became a problem. It was old, and it needed lots of work, and so I got with Daryl Hudson, Cold Storage Construction, in the early 90s.
Now, is that Wade's dad?
That's Wade's dad.
See, I bump into all these people, and it's like, hey, I know Wade. Well, yeah, but did you know his dad?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know David, but did you know his dad?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know Jim, but did you know Bob? It's just kind of so often you find that.
And so
what a legacy.
We started talking, and I says, man, inspection really wants us to do something. We're going to have to, and so he goes, well, he was drawing up plans, and it's probably one of the first SMAs I ever went to, and it was probably 91. Man, he brought in my hotel room, he brought a set of blueprints and says, this is what we're thinking, and I says, wait, I'm never going to get this past my dad. This is too much money. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
He told me, he goes, you've got to get your dad to go visit another plant, and he will see what we're talking about. And he goes, because my dad was wanting to build a roof over the old plant and to slowly, through time, remodel a room and get it done. And I really didn't like that idea, and so we went to Southside in Elgin. They were working on their plant. They were building a plant at the time. And so we went there, and Daryl was right. My dad went there.
As soon as he saw
it, he goes, this is what we're going to do, and this is the building that we're in now, that they built. And we opened this up in 93.
Oh, man. Doesn't time go pop real quick now? This brand new building's over 20 years old.
Well, 30 probably, whatever.
30, whatever the number is. 93, 30.
Yeah, 30-something years.
My mather wasn't working. But it feels really new, still. Like, just if you're comparing to a lot of plants you go into, 93 is a pretty young facility.
You're right.
Comparatively.
Registration is now open for the 2026 Meat Forum in Arlington, Texas. Join SMA on February 18th and 19th for 2 days of cutting-edge education and networking designed for meat and food industry leaders at all levels. Formerly known as the Mid-Year Conference, this premier event delivers timely insights, expert speakers, and opportunities to connect with industry peers. Don't miss out. Secure your spot today at southwestmeat.org.
So what was the trick to coming up with the money to do that? You just have to borrow it?
We borrowed a lot, and my dad had I think he had some friends that gave him the money, and eventually he paid them back. And he kept me out of that too, somewhat, a little bit. I don't know the
full
whole
story or the
full
exact
story
deal?
of it, but
so what age were you then? Were you back working full time?
Oh yeah, I came back in 87, so this is 93 when we opened up this plant.
What was up with that generation being like that? It seems like to me, I'm kind of being like critical of your dad here. Maybe it's just my own life experience. What was the secret about it? It'd be really cool to have got to be a part of that, because you've probably bumped up into needing funds for expansions or even building sales, whatever those are. What's the mindset around that?
He was very close to the vest.
Yeah.
Are
you like that?
I can be.
Yeah.
I can be. But I got my life learning lesson the next year, 94, when he all of a sudden dropped dead. Oh. So, and then me and my brother, we were really kind of talking to him, hey, we need to get our stuff together in case something happens to you. Because he had heart problems, and he had a heart attack, and we didn't have, the inheritance tax or whatever you want to call it. It came after us, and we had to, we figured that out and had to go on and made it through all of that stuff. But go get the money, and it was a little bit of a challenging time, trying to save the company from the government or not having to sell it, Yeah.
I mean, what an honest – thank you for just the transparency and sharing that, because that was part of the journey, part of the struggle, trying to save your company from the government. And I think anybody listening should – take this opportunity, if you don't already know and already have a plan for, the continuation of the business, the passing from parents to children, whatever structure it might be. It doesn't have to be children. It could be just how do you extend the legacy of the business? Start thinking about it. Find somebody and talk to them.
That's very important, it's hard to talk. It's hard to talk to your parents, or it's hard to talk to your loved ones about, hey, we're getting old. Let's talk about our future and or my demise or something. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, she came to me just recently, a couple months ago, and says, a couple years ago, you were really talking to me about dying a lot, and it was self-consciously. I really don't, because she's not going to be in the business. She's not coming back. But I started talking to her about, hey, this is where the wheels are. This is, or this is what me and Mom got planned for y'all and stuff, and started talking to her about different things. And she goes, Dad, why are you telling me this? Well, you just never know, and self-consciously, I think because when my dad died, he was still a rancher, farmer, whatever. And he had stuff scattered all in deals made with people that we had no idea.
Yeah.
We went riding around one day, okay, and somebody would come to us, we would go looking for tractors or whatever. And this guy goes, hey, your dad's tractor's on my place. He's been doing some work. We had no idea, just stuff like that we were.
Well, thankfully, there's honest people around who did business with your dad who said, hey, you've got a tractor over here on my place. When you want it, come get it.
Right.
Because, they could have just said
or,
nothing.
I owe your dad some money.
Yeah.
And my dad, it was a handshake deal.
Yeah.
And, here, this is what I owe your dad or whatever.
Wow, that's really cool. Okay, so where do we go from here? Your dad,
well,
he passed away, unfortunately, like kind of unexpectedly. You've saved how long did it really take you to unravel that inheritance tax thing with the government? And
it took a few years.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a process to get to overcome, but we made it and it turned out okay. But there was an easier process. If you'd
have been ready.
Yeah.
The other kind of truth is looking back is fun. It's nice to hear the story. It doesn't have much to do with today or tomorrow or, what are we going to do to I've looked back at my past and thought, man, if I would have just done that, think where I would be. Well, yeah, but you might be somewhere else that you didn't really want to be anyway. So you just take the punches as they come. Keep working, keep building the business. What are y'all up to these days?
Well, these days we're basically the same we've been doing for a while now. Selling the sausage to the grocery stores and trying to slowly keep growing, keep being viable in the marketplace.
Yeah.
We've never wanted to be the biggest sausage company. We never wanted to go out and get outside investors and right or wrong. I'm not saying other people that do it is fine. We just wanted to make a okay living, a decent living. To pay for of us, where we could raise our kids in this community, basically Chappell Hill, Burnham community, and be happy. I mean, we never, wanted to be this huge. So we're still trying to keep that legacy going, trying to keep the sales going and slowly, incrementally growing each year.
Yeah. I noticed you have a storefront.
Yes.
And when I show up at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, there's cars parked out there already waiting to get in.
Well, yeah, we serve a breakfast, and we have
you've got breakfast,
and like today is Tuesday, so there's a group of men from Hempstead that basically every Tuesday they'll come and they'll have their breakfast, and most of the time I'll sit with them and have a cup of coffee, and we'll just. They're all in their 80s, and they've all basically lost their wives, so they're they're
it's an activity to look
come
forward
here
to.
For community, to visit and have to get out of the house and have someone to talk to. And I, as a lady preacher once told me, that's your ministry, David. You're doing a ministry here, because I'll do it probably Tuesday, and if I'm in on Wednesdays, there's different sets of people that come in, and then she put some kind words, but that's kind of I like doing that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you touched on that. What do you mean ministry?
Yeah,
what about? So, are you telling me you believe in God?
Well, I'm one of these guys, because that's a funny. I don't want to talk too much about religion. I'm not very organized, religion. I struggle with my faith on a daily basis, far as going to church.
Yeah.
I don't really like going to church. I'm gonna be honest. I'm upfront about it.
Well, is that the people, or have you been burned by it? Or I mean, we're off the topic of meat for just a second,
Yeah,
but I'm interested.
But I feel like I'm very spiritually.
Yeah.
Because I'll listen to different types of music that might have a spiritual context to it. But, it's just different things within religion sometimes that it just, I just go, that's not right.
Doesn't make sense.
These people are, and I don't want to, but so my wife, she'll drag me to church, and all of this stuff. But I'll be the first one to tell you, do I go and I'm a Catholic, raised Catholic, and I guess still somewhat of a Catholic.
Yeah.
But so that brings up a whole different dynamics with the Catholic Church that over the years with the abuse scandals and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I did I will go into this. I used to go into this it was be called adoration. So I would read, and I studied the history of the church, and what I found out was not very stuff that I was reading. Kind of go, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Why am I so? So that's part of it too.
Sure.
So
as you grow, as you learn, as you find out the things you think you know but you don't, and this kind of stuff. Somebody said one time, never believe everything you think you know.
That's right.
It's like keep learning, always be trying to improve.
And my wife's brother, my brother-in-law, he's an Episcopal priest, and we talk, and he tells me, he keeps me spiritually on the right path, so to speak, without and he's just so charismatic and so wonderful to me that I can't
you can't ignore it.
Yeah, I can't ignore it. And this lady that came in, she's a Methodist preacher, and she would come. She's in San Antonio now, but it's I'm surrounded by friends that are preaching or preachers, and so that's I get a lot from them just on a one-on-one basis.
I find it valuable personally, and also in these conversations, that you find out these business owners, these meat people, go through some pretty tough stuff. Like, business is hard.
Right.
It's hard. It's dealing with family. It's dealing with pressure. It's dealing with failure. All those things. Having a little God in your life sometimes helps you navigate those things.
Well,
even if it's Tuesday mornings with some 80-year-old guys that just make you feel good.
Yeah. I get to know their story.
Yeah.
And go through their lives history. They'll share with me some things, and it's just neat.
Yep.
It's just like one of my favorite deals at our county fair. I'm on the fair board of our local county fair, and one of the best things for me is senior day. I go in there and help out, and just go from table to table and talk to the senior citizens there, and just say hello if I ain't seen you in a while, and just say, hey, thanks for being here, and all of that stuff.
Well, now you touched on something else I'm interested in. What makes you volunteer or be involved like that? I mean, seems like a volunteer type thing.
No, it's a volunteer thing, because it's with the county fair. I started off. I would help out with what we call the sale, the JLA sale, where I would help out with the kids selling their animals, make sure the buyers were happy. Years ago, we would do stuff in judging committee, and then eventually I got to the entertainment committee, and I was basically a glorified stagehand or roadie.
Yeah.
So I did that for years, and then I became the booking agent. So I would book in the country acts or whatever acts to come in, and then then a guy asked me to be the next fair president. So, I went through the vice president, president, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And once you go through that series of being president, well, you're always on the board, so you're always volunteer. And I love the just helping out and seeing, we raise just like SMA. SMA raises a lot of money for scholarships. So does our fair.
Yeah.
We'll make a lot of money just on a shrimp ball that, I think we gave away 100 and they're going to kill me for not knowing these numbers, but like $120,000 this year just for scholarships in our little community, which is huge.
Yeah.
Which is huge just from the profits of the fair and profits of the shrimp ball.
Yeah.
And which is another person, Greg Miller with World Casing.
Yeah.
He helps me out. He does he gives us a great rate, and he cooks the shrimp for our shrimp ball. And him and his partner, with the shrimp ball, they come in and they do it, and everybody loves it, and we make money, and it's through SMA. It's helped me create the shrimp ball to raise even more scholarship money than just SMA or whatever. We're reaching more kids in the ag line of work, so to speak.
Ag, meat business, all those things. I'm thinking you should maybe be the host, because you're just segueing to all the things. Like we're just going right into the stuff I want to talk about. I think people want to hear, should hear about the SMA raising money. Greg, I'm glad you mentioned him. That's another SMA member. Like the network, I think Greg probably does those shrimp bowls for all kinds of people. Like high five Greg. He's helping. He probably never tells anybody. He may not even add it up himself, how much his service, kind of giving people a deal on the shrimp boil, has raised over the years.
Right.
But, way to go, Greg.
And as far as volunteering with SMA, when I got on the board of SMA, it was just an honor, that they would ask me from a small sausage company, that Dr. Joe Harris would have the faith in me to be on the board. And then when I went on the executive board and was able to do the president thing, that's probably one of the highlights of my career, because I didn't go to A&M. I don't work for a big company. I don't have a real big meat background per se, but they allowed me to be on the board and meet people and learn so much from different members of the organization. It was a thrill for me.
Yeah. I think I know the answer to this question, but I got to ask it anyway. Would you recommend somebody to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, if the opportunity arises for people to be on the board or even advance to the executive board, by all means, take it.
Get in the game.
You'll get more out of it than what you put in. I met some lifelong friends, but the Barbie Yarbroughs of the world and different people and Ed Ruff. And,
by the way, Bobby Yarbrough, I got to interview you. I hope he's listening to this.
You're sitting in a board meeting and you just become friends.
Yeah.
Or
you're kind of working on problems or working on things together.
Right.
Which is it's where friendships start. It's where relationships start, I think, is, kind of being stuck in a room together and saying, we got to make a decision about something.
Right.
Well, I don't really like that idea. Well, I do like that one. Well, maybe what if we did a hybrid, and you just kind of spend some time together.
And you kind of, I try to analyze everything, and that's how you come to that decision. You analyze it, and these people are thinking maybe a little different than the way I would take it, but it's the right way. Maybe the way I'm thinking, it's not quite as the right way.
Well, isn't that funny? Like, there's a lot of right ways, and the idea that for sure one of them's the most right is kind of hard, because the world changes over time, and any one decision might be great at the moment but not so good later, or maybe not so good now but turns out to be really good later. I don't know. I just find it like valuable to not get too hung up on it's got to be perfect, because it just probably won't be. It's hard to make the perfect choice, perfect decision. I mean, you've lived it, I think, here at Chappell Hill.
It's been.
Is every recipe you ever tried selling right now in the marketplace?
No. It's so hard. I've got all these. We've got all these great recipes, but then to get them to market, and get them to sell, it's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
And it seems like the 80-20 rule really applies, or whatever. 80% of your sales comes from 20% of the product that you make or whatever. Because we'll make a I think it's a home run product, put it out on the market, and man, it just falls flat. Or we have a struggle with it,
or one you're not particularly proud of, or thinks the next big thing takes off like crazy. Sometimes that's how it works.
No, that's definitely the truth.
Do you have are any of your recipes still existent from your mom or dad? Like, who started coming up with the recipes originally?
Well, my mom and dad, and the core of our business is still those recipes.
Yeah.
Now, over the years, you cut down on the sodium, salt intake, or whatever. You cut back because taste changed, and people just don't eat as much salt in their diet as they are. So you start getting complaints. This is salty now, and so you cut back a little bit, but that's still the basis of our business. It's those recipes from way back in the day.
Yeah, that's fun. That's cool. What was your mom and dad's name?
My dad's name was Frank and Clara Cohn. My mom was Clara, and she the one of the drawbacks with her, is she died when she was like 53, 52, and she didn't get to see the
success, maybe
the success of this building, and all she did was work. So, another enjoy as you go, because tomorrow's not given. That old saying. You need to enjoy it some kind of way, even though you're working. And when you're a business owner, there is no such thing as life-work balance.
Yeah.
It's always.
Where do you think whoever came up with that anyways? I've never met anybody that really could find that.
Right. So
you're either living your life and spending more energy towards your family and doing the things you enjoy, or you're hard in the business. I mean, it's hard to say, these are 50-50. It just doesn't seem to be possible.
No, it's, so you have to, whatever makes you, whatever, if you want to travel, try to figure out a way to travel a little bit during and get it done, because before you realize, you
might just lights out tomorrow, and
or
you miss
something happens
chances.
And you're not able to walk to travel or whatever.
What would you tell anybody listening? Thanks, by the way. If you're still listening, thanks for paying so much attention and hanging out with me and David. I've enjoyed it. I just can't say, really, I don't have the words to express how cool it is to me to just be in the room with a guy who's built a business with his family, with kids, while raising kids, while volunteering in the community. To me, this is the stuff America is. It's what America is to me.
Right.
So I really have enjoyed it. What would you say to somebody listening about the SMA?
SMA has been very good to me. I met some good people, real great people, and going back, and they gave me, say a Vince Kirshner, when, one of my first SMA conventions, coming up to me and saying, "Hey, David, welcome to SMA." And, Vince doesn't know it, but that meant the world to me, because he was with Owens Country Sausage, a big company, and he took the time to come up to me and says, "Welcome. If you need anything, give me a call."
Yeah.
And just stuff like that. John Bellinger, he was one of the same, and going back, Burley Smith, going back, I'm throwing out some names from, pretty far back, but even today, the names, the guys at Yoakum Packing, Tyler and Glenn and his wife, they're always there, if you need anything. And at this last SMA, I got to shout out to Danny Janeka at J-Bar B Foods. He's always been, hey, you need anything. Also, you need anything, give me a call. We'll, if you're struggling with something, we'll help you out.
And do you think he's just saying that, or does he mean it? No,
with Danny, unless I'm misreading him, he really means it.
I think so. I've heard that a lot.
He really means it.
Yeah. I think all of them do. Like you're telling a story of, what did you say, Kirshner? What was the guy's name that in
Vince?
Vince.
Yeah. He's been retired for, 20 or so years.
But it aligns with my experience. It's two guys telling you this same thing happened to both of us. I walk up as, a kid out of college, just started working at Peterson's at the time. And Dickie Mayer, Southwest Saw, for whatever reason, just sees me, high five, like, hey, man, how are you? What's your name? Welcome to the SMA. And they don't know they do this. That's just who these humans are. If you want to be involved and build a network and build your business, join the SMA.
Right.
Now, this is not a SMA commercial, although I kind of want to make it one. Almost any person wants to make it a commercial when it's helped them and they want to help others. So, y'all, get involved with the SMA. Come see David Cohn. Sit with him at dinner sometime and just talk to the guy, because he'll make you smile.
I told my wife last night I was going to be on a podcast, and because I kept it quiet from her, and she goes, "How come you don't tell me these things?" And she goes, "I want to listen to it." So I'll be on the lookout for it, and I really do appreciate it.